Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. Let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes that the Pittsburgh Steelers made in the 2025 NFL draft, and that was drafting Kaleb Johnson over Cam Skattebo. Not only has Cam Skattebo been excellent for the New York Giants, he is leading the way for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And let me tell you why this is a big deal. It's a much bigger deal than what you think. You're going to say, oh, he's just basing this off of running back production. No, I'm not. Cam Skattebo was picked 105th overall by the New York Giants. Kaleb Johnson was picked in the third round, 83rd overall. Cam Skattebo, fourth round, 105th overall. And you're like, oh, what's the difference? It's only 20 something picks away. The difference is there were so many good defensive tackles on the board in that draft class. The Pittsburgh Steelers could have took another defensive tackle or a linebacker and then have drafted Cam Skattebo instead of taking Kaleb Johnson. Kaleb Johnson has done nothing this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has not contributed to the Pittsburgh Steelers offense at all. We all saw what happened with the fumble on the kick return. Pretty much cost the Pittsburgh Steelers a game. Cam Skattebo is a smarter player. He's a better player. He's more durable. He's tougher. He's a better runner. And Cam Skattebo had Pittsburgh Steeler DNA written all over him. It was all over him. And what did Coach Tomlin do? What did Omar Khan do? We talk about these type of players all the time. Pittsburgh Steeler DNA. They took a pass. That's what they did. And I don't know who's scouting these players. But if you had any questions about Cam Skattebo, when Arizona State went on their playoff run and you saw what Cam Skattebo did to the University of Texas, where he was a one-man gang and took on the entire Texas defense, Cam Skattebo was so productive, and 90% of Arizona State's offense, they have absolutely no chance to make it into the college football playoffs without Cam Skattebo. Cam Skattebo put the Arizona State Sun Devils on his back. Let's jump into Cam Skattebo's stats this year for the New York Giants. In the first few weeks of the NFL season, Cam Skattebo has significantly outplayed Kaleb Johnson, with Skattebo holding the leading role for the New York Giants and producing 102 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 87 receiving yards. But do you know what the best part of Cam Skattebo's game is? As excellent as those stats are for Cam Skattebo, you know what the real strength of his game is? Pass protection. He absolutely destroys blitzing linebackers, defensive ends, anybody that's rushing the quarterback. He steps up into the pocket, he steps up into space, and absolutely destroys them. Do you trust Kaleb Johnson back there in pass protection? I know I don't. Me personally, I think Kaleb Johnson's already checked out mentally since Coach Tomlin told him he was third on the depth chart. We got a lot of that going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers when guys don't get the ball or they don't get their way. They just mentally go in the tank. And I'm referring to Pat Fryermuth also. While Johnson has seen minimal playing time with the Pittsburgh Steelers due to poor performance and injury to his own teammates, I don't know. That doesn't really make sense to me. Injury to his own teammates, but whatever. Skattebo is considered a front runner for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, highlights his instant impact, whereas Johnson has been outplayed by fellow rookie and has almost zero impact on the Steelers' offense. And when you watch Cam Skattebo run, he doesn't have to have a big hole or a big lane. Most of the time when he's making these runs, all he needs is for the offensive lineman to get a shoulder pad on a shoulder pad or a helmet on a helmet, and he makes the rest happen. When I watched Cam Skattebo, I was like, man, he's going to look great in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. I was totally shocked that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't draft Cam Skattebo. Coach Tomlin talks about these smash mouth players all the time. And in a game where everybody's finesse and, everybody wants to paint their fingernails and guys are less physical, when you watch Cam Skattebo's play in college and the NFL, you think to yourself, well, the only difference between him and Jerome Bettis is he's a little paler and probably about 15 pounds lighter. Cam Skattebo's like 225 pounds. Yeah, he might be short, but he's not a small man. And he's much faster than Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis weighed 245 in his prime and ran a 4.740. Cam Skattebo is about 225, runs between a 4.59 and a 4.6 flat 40-yard dash. And he's just as powerful and just as physical as Jerome Bettis. And where's Cam Skattebo? He's on the New York Giants. This really hurt the Pittsburgh Steelers in the draft. We have Y.A. Black and Derek Harmon. Listen, I love Derek Harmon. I'm not complaining about that pick. I'm not complaining about any of the picks other than Kaleb Johnson because there was a better option at the board at that time. We could have taken another defensive tackle. We could have taken another linebacker. We could have taken another cornerback. We should have taken a defensive player with the third round pick. There's no doubt about it. When you look back, listen, I made a video on this saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to draft Cam Skattebo, and I explained why. I wanted the Steelers to go Derek Harmon or Emeka Egbuka round one. Defensive tackle, because we need defensive tackles, obviously. And then you fill in the rest from there. So the Pittsburgh Steelers could have got another defensive stud, but instead we drafted Kaleb Johnson, who has absolutely produced nothing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now the vibe is, can we even trust Kaleb Johnson back there handling special teams and kickoff return duties? I know I'm not too crazy about it. I know on third down, if I see Kaleb Johnson out there and it's 3rd and 16 and he's asked to pass block, am I worried? I'm absolutely worried. Where with Cam Skattebo, that's the strength of his game. He does all these other great things, but the best thing about Cam Skattebo is his blocking. Pittsburgh Steeler DNA written across his forehead, and the Pittsburgh Steelers say, no, thank you. I really liked what I heard from Cam Heyward today, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers team bonding in Ireland, which is very important if we want to win a Super Bowl. Let's see what Cam had to say. Really special to be a part of. Cam Heyward says Steelers team bonding was highlight of Ireland trip. We really captured some good team bonding, and it's hard in our game today. Everybody's on their phones. Everybody's got a million things going on. Everybody's got podcasts, Heyward said. To have an opportunity to just be with the boys, to talk about guys having Netflix documentaries about them, the enigma, talking about what's going on in our lives, how we could all just hang out and coaches involved. It was really special to be a part of it. Good vibes. Not only did the Steelers all stay at the same location overseas, a 5-star resort 40 minutes from the hustle and bustle of downtown Dublin, but they also had a long flight to and from Dublin. It's a good chance for guys to get closer to one another. It's different from a normal road trip where the Steelers travel to a place where many of the players have probably played before and have their routine. It's a new country and environment, which helped the team bond. I would have loved to have been on the plane, hearing the players rip Aaron Rodgers about Enigma. I watched Enigma, and I thought it was excellent. It really gave you some good insight to who Aaron Rodgers really is. And I'm not saying they would have ripped him, when Aaron Rodgers was talking about growing up in California and his family, none of that stuff. But when he went on his retreats, I'm sure some of the players had some very funny things to say. And I would have loved to have been there for a fly on the wall just to hear those conversations. And I'm sure Aaron Rodgers got a kick out of it also. Aaron Rodgers, he takes football seriously and he's very private, but I don't think he takes himself so serious where he's insulted by everything and he's a little diva that's not part of the team. I'm not going to say this person's name anymore, but he used to wear number 14 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You all know who I'm referring to. Aaron Rodgers definitely doesn't have that type of mentality, thank God, and neither does DK Metcalf. I absolutely love DK Metcalf. I can't say enough good things about DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf right now is on pace to have 14 touchdowns and 1,200 yards for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I said at the beginning of the year, before the Steelers even signed him, that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to sign DK Metcalf. He will be the Derrick Henry of the AFC North at the wide receiver position. He'll have over 1,200 yards receiving and over 10 touchdowns. I predicted that before DK Metcalf was even signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to say, I told you so, because I did. Just like I told you about Cam Skattebo, because I did. Just like I told you about Derek Harmon. All these predictions before the season started. And my Emeka Egbuka prediction. Look how he's doing on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coach Tomlin, if you need my help when it comes to picking players, get in my inbox and let me know. I'll be your assistant. During the Minnesota Vikings game in Ireland, Connor Heyward says Aaron Rodgers had technical difficulties on Steelers' final drive. Connor Heyward went on to say the Steelers' Week 4 win over the Vikings felt secure for most of its duration. A 24-21 final score made it closer than it should have been, though. With 2 minutes, 8 seconds left, one Vikings timeout, and 2-minute warning, Pittsburgh only needed a first down to finish in victory formation until technical difficulty struck. According to Connor Heyward, Aaron Rodgers was having trouble receiving calls in his helmet, forcing him to act as the de facto coordinator in a critical game moment. I think there was a technical difficulties going on with the helmet, Heyward said via the Steelers website, but we just got up to the ball and we tried to get them to jump off sides, and then we ended up having to call a timeout. His helmet went blank, so we just all lined up and tried to free snap them. That's what you get when you have Aaron Rodgers, a skilled master at his craft. Every week going into every game, I can breathe. Like with Russell Wilson, I could not breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. I knew exactly what was going to happen. First down, second down, third down. With Aaron Rodgers, when you see him move and scramble in the pocket, stepping up into the pocket, sliding, moving under pressure, a flick of the wrist can throw the ball 40 yards downfield. I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers have a chance to win every single game, no matter how bad the rest of the team is playing, with Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback. Will Howard has been activated to come off the IR. Will Howard has handled the injury as a professional, just as we expect him to. Really appreciative of our athletic training staff, our strength and conditioning staff. They've done a fantastic job working with Will. Arth said via video provided by the team. I think he's in great shape right now. He's been in as good a shape as he's been since he's been a Pittsburgh Steeler. Arth said that Howard is locked in mentally and has been working on projects for quarterback Aaron Rodgers. I absolutely love the Will Howard pick. And you're going to say you're getting carried away, but I do compare him to Josh Allen. You know, Will Howard played better competition in college than Josh Allen. They're the same size. They move. They have a similar attitude. You know, if I had to bet, I'd say Josh Allen is probably a step faster. I think that if the Pittsburgh Steelers bring in John Chucky Gruden, whether he's the quarterback's coach, the head coach, he absolutely loved Will Howard. John Gruden could develop Will Howard into a franchise quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.